Wealthy CEO races to the hospital with his black maid. What happens inside changes everything. Amara Johnson had always been a woman of courage, a former nurse marked by an injustice that made her lose everything. She now works as a maid in the mansion of Adrian Whitmore, a cold and distant widowed millionaire who barely notices her presence. But it's there that she finds, in 9-year-old Noah, Adrian's son, an unexpected bond. The lonely boy sees in her the affection he's been missing since his mother's death. What seemed like just another quiet chapter of her life takes a turn when Amara's fragile health places her at the center of an unexpected twist. From that moment on, secrets are revealed, barriers come down, and hearts that were once closed begin to open. What emerges from this meeting of such different worlds is something no one could have imagined. Before we begin this moving story, I want to invite you to share something. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing how far our love stories are reaching. And if you enjoy emotional stories filled with resilience and true romance, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way, not only will you not miss the upcoming chapters, but you'll also help the channel grow and bring more heart-touching stories. The morning rises warm in Houston, and the low fog reflects off the windows of the Whitmore mansion, as if the house were breathing on its own. Amara Johnson walks quietly along the stone path, a fabric bag over her shoulder, and her mother's floral scarf folded in her uniform pocket. Her deep caramel skin glows under the rising sun. Her coily hair, tied in a loose bun, reveals a long and elegant neck. Her golden brown eyes observe everything with the attentiveness learned in hospitals. The silent doorbell, the camera at the gate, the flawless lawn that seems to apologize for not being a real park. She takes a deep breath, feels the light nausea that's been with her for days, and whispers softly, more to herself than any saint, "Stay strong, Amara." Just one more day. As she opens the side door, the climate-controlled air wraps around her like a cold hand. The kitchen is a sea of light marble, brushed steel, and silence. With every movement, she reintroduces herself to the space. Rubber gloves, damp cloth, soft broom. The routine is almost a ritual. She lines up the pots by size, adjusts the bar stools to equal distance, puts water on to boil, and prepares oatmeal with fruit the way she learned from watching old patient families. While slicing strawberries, her stomach gives a sharp warning. She closes her eyes, rests a hand on the counter, and waits for the dizziness to pass. Breathe. In for 4, out for 6. Her heartbeat slows. She straightens up and finishes the plate. Small footsteps come down the wooden stairs. A blond boy appears in the hallway's frame, wearing blue pajamas with spaceships, his hair messy from sleep, light blue eyes, curious, a little sad. He stops, as if in front of a rare and gentle animal. "Good morning, champ," says Amara, with a tenderness that doesn't weigh. "I'm Amara." Noah doesn't respond right away. He comes closer slowly, as if testing the temperature of the water. "Did you make that? It smells really good. I made it for you and your dad. It has strawberries and cinnamon." He rests his chin on the counter, watching her precise movements. "My mom used to cut the strawberries like that too." Amara lowers her gaze for a second, honoring the memory, and offers a spoonful. "If you want, I can always cut them like this, only if you like it." Noah accepts the spoon, takes the first bite, and his shoulders relax a little. "I like when you're here," he says shyly, pulling the plate toward himself. She smiles. She's seen this miracle many times. Children who don't eat for days until someone looks them in the eye at the right moment. The father's presence arrives before he does. The faint sound of a smartwatch, the phone vibrating, the scent of subtle cologne. Adrian Cole Whitmore enters the room in a flawless gray suit, white shirt with not a wrinkle on the collar. Tall, tense shoulders, light brown hair perfectly styled. His grayish-blue eyes scan the space in an automatic gesture of control. "Mr. Whitmore," says Amara, keeping a professional tone. "Good morning. I made breakfast for Noah." Adrian responds with a minimal nod, not meeting her eyes. "Great. Let's go, Noah." "We're on a schedule. I want Amara to stay," the boy replies, hugging his plate like a shield. "I'll eat if she stays." Adrian sighs, impatient, already holding his phone. "Noah, don't make a scene." Amara steps in gently, without crossing the boundaries of her role. "If it's all right with you, sir, I can stay while he finishes. Just 5 minutes." Her voice remains calm, like someone stitching a deep cut with a steady hand. Adrian sizes up the situation, mentally checks his agenda and the priorities that always win, 5 minutes, and finish the laundry list before 9. He turns back to his phone, already in another world. "Thank you," Noah says softly. He sits on the tall stool, and Amara stays nearby, putting away the utensils, wiping up a drop of water that fell outside the glass. The boy eats, one spoonful after another, and between bites, he confides small things, as if each sentence gave him a piece of solid ground. "Last night I dreamed I was falling, but you held my hand. When you dream you're falling, remember to breathe. Just like now. I'll be here in the morning and in the afternoon. At night, your dad stays with you. He works at night too." Amara rests her hand on the counter, not touching the boy, just leaving her presence there. "Then we'll make the day strong enough to handle the night." The watch beeps. Noah finishes his plate, wipes his mouth with a napkin, and looks at her as if asking for a silent promise. "Will you come back tomorrow?" "I will, yes." Adrian reappears, already holding his leather briefcase, ready to leave. "Noah, car. Miss Johnson, the rules are in the email the agency sent. Minimal organization, and no interfering with the family's routine. He's not rude, he's cold, like an instruction manual." Amara bows her head in a professional gesture. "Understood, sir." In the car, before closing the door, Noah leans out. "Bye, Amara. See you later, Noah." She waves with 2 fingers, a small gesture that, in the boy's heart, is huge. When the gate closes and silence returns to fill the marble space, Amara heads to the laundry room. The scent of liquid detergent and the warmth from the dryer welcome her like an old memory. She checks labels, separates lights and darks, cleans the machine's filter, lines up softener bottles like lining up thoughts. The dizziness hits again, sudden. The floor shifts an inch. She leans on the counter, opens her bag, and pulls out a bottle of expired pills. She reads the label, remembers the hospital, the signature they made her give. The uniform folded one last time. She swallows dry, puts the bottle away, and breathes again in 4 counts. "Come on, heart. I need this job." Mid-morning, a secretary from the office walks by with a clipboard. "Are you the new one? There's an inventory in the pantry, and Mr. Whitmore likes the shelves arranged by color and size. He notices everything. "Thanks for the heads up," Amara replies, not looking up from her task. She notices her nails painted nude, short, practical. Her curvy body moves with disciplined grace. She never wastes energy. Every step is calculated like a nurse. Prevent falls, avoid unnecessary strain, protect the lower back. In the pantry, she turns chaos into a map. She lines up pasta, arranges canned goods, rotates expiration dates. When she finishes, she steps back to take it all in. She takes pride in leaving the world a little more understandable than she found it. She hears voices in the distance. Adrian is back. A call alive on the car's speakerphone. He crosses the kitchen, glancing at the freshly organized shelves. It looks better, he admits, like someone tossing a penny to a street musician. "Thank you, sir," says Amara, expecting nothing more. He's already walking away, but then takes half a step back, something catching his attention. "Did Noah eat?" He did. "And he went to bed late last night." It's a confession that slips out, as if he's just now realizing his own absence. "Today I can adjust his room so he can rest better tonight," Amara offers. Tighter curtains. Fewer objects in his line of sight. It helps. Adrian hesitates. The old reflex for control wrestling with the professional advice she's just given. Do as you see fit. "But keep to the schedule." "Yes, sir." The afternoon falls like a soft cloth. Amara changes the flowers' water, scrubs corners no one sees, wipes dust that tells no story to anyone. When she climbs the stairs to tidy Noah's room, a sharp pain cuts her breath. She stops, hand on the railing, eyes closed. 4 counts. Amara. The pain eases. In the room, she straightens the boys' books, one about planets, another about rockets. She places the teddy bear at the edge of the bed, slightly turned toward the door, a welcoming position for when he returns. On the bedside table, she leaves a simple note, in round handwriting. "Your rocket is ready to launch tomorrow. At night, when the house once again swallows its own noises, Adrian walks down the hallway and sees the note. He reads it, expressionless on the outside. Inside, an old muscle stirs, the one that forgot how to feel. He puts the paper in his pocket without knowing why. Amara ends the day by gathering cloths, checking windows, turning off lights. Before leaving, she returns to the kitchen and touches the marble with her fingertips, as if asking permission. Outside, Houston's nighttime heat wraps around her. In the distance, sirens and neighbors' laughter remind her there's a world that doesn't fit behind an automatic gate. She holds the floral scarf, kisses the faded print, and walks to the bus stop. Her body asks for rest, her heart asks for calm, and her mind repeats the only promise she can make. She'll be back tomorrow. The next morning arrives with the same quiet routine, but something feels different in the air. Noah comes down the stairs still in his pajamas, hugging the teddy bear to his chest. His light eyes sparkle with expectation. When he sees Amara already in the kitchen preparing a bowl of oatmeal, he runs to her without thinking twice. "Auntie Amara, you came back." The word auntie slips from his lips with innocent ease, but lands in her heart as both a burden and a gift. Amara smiles, even with the fatigue stubbornly hiding in her muscles. "Of course I came back, sweetheart. I promised, didn't I?" He nods, proud of his trust. You never break a promise. "Can I tell you a secret?" Amara kneels to his level, eyes meeting his end like she used to do when she was a nurse caring for frightened children. Secrets are only good if we keep them safe. "Go ahead," Noah whispers, looking down at his feet. "Sometimes I talk to Mommy before I go to sleep, but I don't tell Daddy. He doesn't like it when I talk about her." A heavy silence fills the kitchen. Amara feels a sharp pain in her chest, different from the physical one. She takes a deep breath and gently runs her hand through the boy's blonde hair. "You can talk to me whenever you miss her. You don't have to hide what you feel." The boy hugs her tightly, as if trying to glue back something broken. For the first time in weeks, he finishes his meal without resistance. Amara walks him to the living room and helps him with his schoolwork. Her body protests, the dizziness threatens, but she stays strong. Noah's focus must not be interrupted. He smiles, points to the words he's learned to read, and every small victory becomes huge in her eyes. In the afternoon, Adrian walks through the living room. The dark gray suit contrasts with the space lit by the wide windows. He stops when he sees Noah sitting on the rug, laughing as Amara makes up a small story using the teddy bear. The scene surprises him. His son hasn't laughed like that since before the tragedy that made him a widower. But instead of expressing gratitude, Adrian limits himself to a brief comment. I see he's finally behaving. Amara looks up, not losing her smile, but feels the coldness like a blade. He just needed someone to listen. Adrian pretends not to hear. Keep it up. Makes the routine easier. And he heads to the office, already speaking on the phone about shareholders and contracts. That evening, the mansion takes on a new glow with a sophisticated dinner. Soft lighting shines over the marble table. Porcelain plates reflect the candles. Adrian hosts a longtime friend, another executive with a flawless appearance, loud laugh, and analytical gaze. Amara serves discreetly, moving almost invisibly, as if silence were part of her uniform. The friend watches Noah, who doesn't leave the maid's side. I see the boys more lively. She must have a special touch. Adrian lets out a short laugh, almost a sigh. She's good with Noah, yes, but she's just a cleaning lady. The words cut through Amara like blades. She keeps serving, maintaining perfect posture, but inside her breathing falters. Her eyes shine with held-back tears. Noah, not understanding the weight of the phrase, grabs the hem of her simple dress protectively. Amara finishes the task in silence, but inside her grows an old pain, the pain of being seen as nothing, even while carrying so much. As she clears the table after dinner, she murmurs to herself, almost inaudibly, "One day, they'll see." And in that instant, the atmosphere shifts. The audience realizes that her invisibility won't last forever. Something greater is about to happen, and the Whitmore house will never be the same. The next day drags on heavily at the Whitmore mansion. Houston's heat seeps in even through the flawless air conditioning, and Amara feels every muscle aching from sleepless nights. Adrian's phrase from dinner still echoes in her mind. She's good with Noah, but she's just a cleaning lady. Those words hurt more than the weight of the water bucket she carries up the main staircase, a grand stretch of noble wood reflecting the house's cold grandeur. She starts scrubbing the steps, one by one, always careful not to leave marks. But with each movement, her chest tightens, as if someone is squeezing it from the inside. Sweat runs down her forehead, not from effort, but from an invisible battle. Suddenly, the floor seems to shift beneath her feet. She grabs the railing, breathing in short gasps, trying to stay on her feet. Noah appears in the hallway with a toy car in his hands. He stops, alarmed at the sight of Amara hunched over. "Auntie Amara, what happened? Are you okay?" She forces a smile. Even with her blurry vision, Auntie's just tired, sweetheart. The stares beat me for a second. The boy isn't convinced. His light eyes examine her like a little doctor, an inheritance from the mother he lost too soon. "But you're shaking, and your face is pale." Amara kneels down to be at his eye level, even though her heart is pounding like a drum. She holds his small hands gently. "Look at me, Noah. I promise I'll be okay. You don't have to worry." He hugs her tightly, as if he could hold her up. "I don't want you to go away like Mommy did." Those words pierce Amara's soul more than any physical pain. She closes her eyes for a moment, holding back tears, and strokes the boy's hair. "I'm not going anywhere, I promise." Noah runs to his room and brings back his favorite teddy bear. "Keep him, Auntie Amara. He protects me at night. He'll protect you too." Amara accepts the gift as if it were a relic, pressing it to her chest. "Thank you, my angel." When the boy goes back to playing, she goes upstairs to the servants' quarters. She locks the door and sits on the narrow bed. Her whole body seems to beg for rest. She opens the worn-out bag and pulls out a bottle of expired medicine. The yellowed label nearly faded. She puts one pill in her mouth, swallows it dry, without water. The bitter taste burns on the way down. She stares at the ceiling and whispers, "I can't go back to that hospital. Not after everything. They took everything from me. The coat, my dignity, my life." The memory crashes in like a wave. The white hallway, the sound of machines, the accusing stares, the case that wasn't hers, but that she carried alone for being the only black woman on the team. The newspapers that reported without evidence, the immediate dismissal, the cowardly silence of colleagues. It was in that same hospital that she spent nights saving lives, and from there she left marked as guilty. She takes a deep breath, but her heart keeps failing. She presses her mother's floral scarf to her face, as if drawing strength from invisible roots. Outside, the mansion continues with its cold routine, but inside her, the battle is silent. A war no one sees. Noah, curious, peers through the crack of the door and hears the muffled sound of a dry cough. His eyes fill with concern. He returns to the hallway and decides to stand guard, like a little sentinel. And it's in that contrast, the child keeping watch and the woman hiding mortal pain, that the tension grows. Each day, Amara carries alone a secret that could change not only her life, but also the fate of the Whitmore family. If you made it this far, comment strength. That way, I'll know you're feeling the intensity of this story, and will confuse the ones who only read the comments. The sun was beginning to set over Houston, casting golden reflections on the windows of the Whitmore mansion. The house's silence was broken only by the rhythmic sound of the dryer in the laundry room. Amara was alone, folding towels when, suddenly, a sharp blow hit her chest. The air vanished as if someone had ripped the breath out of her. She tried to lean on the counter, but her legs didn't obey. She collapsed to her knees, eyes filling with tears, breathing shallow, her whole body crying for help she couldn't voice. Noah came running down the hallway with a toy car in his hands, laughing to himself in his own imagination. But as he turned toward the laundry room, the scene froze his childhood for a few seconds. He saw Amara lying on the floor, hand on her chest, lips parted trying to draw in breath that wouldn't come. "Auntie Amara!" the boy shouted, dropping the toy. He ran to her, knelt down, and shook her arm. "Talk to me, please. Don't go to sleep. Don't." Amara opened her eyes with effort and gave a weak smile, but couldn't say anything. A tear rolled down her cheek, a mix of pain and helplessness. Noah, his heart pounding, ran down the hallway like never before. His childlike voice, cut by panic, echoed through the mansion. "Daddy! Amara's dying. She's not breathing." Adrian was in his office, surrounded by papers and with the phone glued to his ear, discussing deadlines. When he heard his son's scream, the pen fell from his hand. The phone slipped off the desk. He had never heard that tone of desperation in Noah's voice. In seconds, he ran down the hallways. He found the scene and his entire body froze for a moment. Amara collapsed, fragile, and Noah crying, trying to lift her face with his small hands. Adrian knelt, his own breath speeding up like it hadn't since his wife's accident. "Amara, listen to my voice." He touched her face and felt her cold skin, her unfocused eyes. Noah was sobbing. "Daddy, don't let her die. Please, don't." Without thinking, Adrian lifted her in his arms. Her weight was nothing compared to the weight of guilt already beginning to settle. His hands were shaking, his body tense, but urgency overtook him. For the first time in years, he left everything behind. Contracts, meetings, the image of an unshakable man. As he ran through the mansion's hall toward the garage, Noah stayed beside him, holding the woman's hand even as she was being carried. "Auntie Amara, stay awake. You promised you wouldn't leave me alone." Adrian, sweating, muttered through his teeth, as if speaking to himself and the universe. "Not this time. I'm not going to lose someone like this again." The garage lights came on automatically as he pushed the door open with his shoulder, still holding Amara in his arms. The mansion's heavy silence was replaced by the roar of the car engine, like a promise of life. The race against time began right there, and none of the three knew that this moment would change the Whitmore family's story forever. The black car glides down the road, lit by the orange lights of late afternoon. Inside, there's nothing peaceful. The engine roars, but what truly weighs is the heavy silence suffocating each of them. Adrian drives with both hands firm on the wheel, eyes locked on the road, but his chest is a battlefield. In the back seat, Amara is lying down, pale, her head resting on one of the leather cushions. Noah holds her hand with all his strength, as if the warmth of his small hands could stop the darkness from taking her. "Auntie Amara, please. Wake up. You promised you'd stay with me. Don't go. I need you." Amara breathes with difficulty, her chest rising and falling in uneven intervals. The boy presses his face to her arm, his tears soaking the simple uniform already stained by sweat from the struggle. Adrian looks through the rearview mirror and sees the scene. His heart races, not from speed, but from what he sees reflected there. The woman he had never truly noticed, and the son who now seemed to be losing everything again. His mind starts projecting old images, almost like a waking nightmare. He sees his wife on the kitchen floor years ago, her eyes also dim, her lips trying to form words he couldn't hear. He sees the ambulance arriving too late. He sees Noah, still little, not understanding why his mom wouldn't come back. "Not this time." Adrian murmurs, almost without noticing. "Not this time." Noah hears him and lifts his gaze, his eyes full of tears. "Daddy, you're going to save her, right?" For a second, Adrian doesn't know how to respond. He feels the weight of all the years of coldness, of every time he treated Amara as invisible. His throat tightens, but then he forces the words out. "I will, son. I swear I will." The traffic seems to conspire against them. A red light, a line of cars. Adrian grips the steering wheel tightly, sweat trickling down his temple. He looks at Amara's face in the rearview mirror and silently screams at his own helplessness. When the light turns green, he accelerates as if the car were a heart trying to beat faster. Noah strokes Amara's hand and insists, "Listen to my voice. Auntie Amara, it's me, Noah. You can't leave me alone. I'm not letting you go." A small groan escapes her lips, weak but real. Noah smiles through his tears. "She's listening, Daddy. She's trying to stay." Adrian feels a knot in his throat, and for the first time in years, a silent prayer is born inside him, even without faith. He looks ahead, just minutes from the hospital, and repeats like a mantra, "Hold on, just a little longer, not this time." The car turns the corner, and the illuminated sign of the hospital appears ahead. The sound of distant sirens signals that the race is reaching its limit. Adrian grips the steering wheel tighter, knowing that everyone's fate now depends on the next few minutes. The hospital's automatic doors open with a cold burst of sterile air. Adrian rushes in, carrying Amara in his arms, while Noah, breathless, clings to his side. Nurses approach immediately with a gurney, and her body is carefully placed on it, but the scene feels like a blow to everyone. Irregular pulse, pressure dropping. One of the nurses announces, Amara is rushed down the white hallways. Adrian stands still for a second, breathing heavily, unsure whether to follow or stay with Noah. The boy grips his hand tightly. Dad, don't leave her alone. Noah is taken by an assistant to a waiting room, while Adrian follows the doctors to the emergency reception. There, he asks for information, but is initially ignored amidst the commotion. Minutes later, a middle-aged doctor in a spotless lab coat approaches with a clipboard. Mr. Whitmore, she'll need immediate tests, but I've already found something in her medical history. Adrian frowns. History? The doctor hesitates, as if stepping onto delicate ground. Your employee is not just anyone. Her name is listed here. Amara Johnson, head nurse at Memorial Hospital until 3 years ago. Adrian falls silent, surprised. The doctor continues. She had outstanding recommendations. Doctors and patients praised her competence, dedication, and compassion. But there's a serious note on record. He lowers his voice, as if the weight of injustice still echoes. She was accused of negligence in a case where a patient died. Internal records show the error belonged to another doctor. Still, the blame was placed on her. She was removed without a chance to defend herself. Her file still carries that stain today. Adrian feels as though the ground has vanished beneath him. He remembers every time he treated her as invisible, every cold command, every look of indifference. Now the truth stood in front of him. The woman he reduced to a cleaning lady had once been responsible for saving countless lives. And no one defended her, he asks, his voice choking. The doctor sighs. She was the only black woman on the team. It's easy to blame someone who has no protection. In that moment, Adrian sees Amara not as a maid, but as someone who bore a heavy burden, someone who chose silence to survive. His eyes fill with tears, but he hides it from the staff. Suddenly, Noah bursts into the hallway, having escaped the waiting room, his teddy bear clutched to his chest. Dad, she's going to be okay, right? You said you'd save her. Adrian kneels before his son, hugs him, and with a broken voice replies, She will. Noah, I promise she will. But inside him, a second promise is born, clearer than ever. If Amara survives, he will not let her remain invisible. The heart monitor beeps in the background, marking the fragile rhythm of her life. Adrian closes his eyes for a moment, and the image of his wife in the past blends with Amara's image now. The difference is that this time he has a chance, and he won't waste it. If you've made it this far, comment justice. That way, I'll know you're feeling the weight of this story, and will confuse those who only read the comments. The following days transformed the Whitmore family's routine. The hospital, with its white walls and smell of disinfectant, became the place where father and son spent most of their time. Noah always arrived in a hurry, teddy bear in his arms, running down the hallway to the door of the room. And the moment he entered, the atmosphere changed. His blue eyes lit up, and even faced with Amara's fragility, his smile returned. Adrian watched in silence. He saw his son hold her hand, tell stories from school, draw little rockets on sheets of paper to cheer her up. It was as if Noah had found a safe harbor, a harbor Adrian himself, in his emotional absence, had never learned to be. One morning, Amara slowly opened her eyes. She was pale, her hair messy against the pillow, but her golden gaze began to shine again, however faintly. Noah was the first to notice. "Auntie Amara, you woke up. I knew you'd come back." She smiled with effort, gently squeezing his hand. "I told you I wouldn't leave you, sweetheart." Noah looked at his father, emotional. "See, Dad?" she promised. Adrian approached the bed, his heart both heavy and light. He wanted to apologize, wanted to say everything he carried inside, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, he made decisions. He brought the best doctor in the city to oversee her case, signed authorizations without worrying about the cost, and for the first time in years, turned off his work phone to remain there. In the days that followed, he began taking Noah to visit the pediatric wing funded by his company, a place he had never actually visited before. He saw children smiling despite the pain, nurses tired yet devoted, and realized that the coldness of his corporate life had never shown him what truly mattered. Amara, even in recovery, noticed the change. One afternoon, while Adrian adjusted her blanket, she murmured in a weak voice, "Why are you doing all this? I know you don't have to." He looked at her with eyes filled with both regret and newfound understanding. "Because I should have done it before. Not just for you, but for me and for my son." Noah, sitting at the foot of the bed, held up the drawing he had made. It showed 3 people holding hands, him, his father, and Amara. "Now we're not alone anymore," he said with a shy smile. Amara closed her eyes, moved, allowing herself to feel something she had avoided for a long time, the sensation of belonging. Adrian, in turn, said nothing. But in his silence, his actions spoke louder than any apology. In the quiet of the room, interrupted only by the rhythmic beep of the machines, something began to take shape. It wasn't just gratitude. It was a deep bond, built through pain and revelation. The day of discharge came sooner than Amara expected. The outdoor air, even hot and heavy in Houston, felt sweeter than the compressed hospital air. Noah ran up to her with a bright smile, handing her the teddy bear that had stood guard at her bedside. "I told you he'd take care of you. Now you can come back with us." Amara bent down slowly, still weak, and hugged him tenderly. "Thank you, my angel. But today, maybe I need to rest in my own home." Noah's smile faded. He grabbed her hand as if the world were about to end. "Don't go away, Auntie Amara. We need you. I think Daddy does too." Those words echoed inside her with a force that hurt more than any medicine injected into her veins. When she lifted her eyes, she found Adrian standing just a few steps away, watching in silence. He was dressed simply by his standards. A blue shirt with rolled-up sleeves and dress pants without a tie. But his eyes held something new. Not the distance of a boss, but the vulnerability of a man. Amara. He took a deep breath, like someone walking through a minefield of emotions. "I wanted to invite you to dinner, not as your employer, but as Adrian, as a man." Her heart raced. Part of her wanted to laugh. Another part wanted to cry. After everything she had lived through in that house, after every silence, every indifference, how could she just say yes? "I don't know if I can sit at the same table like nothing ever happened." Her voice was steady, but broken inside. Noah, persistent, squeezed her hand even tighter. "Please, just this once. You can leave tomorrow if you want. But tonight, stay with us." The boy's pleading gaze was stronger than any barrier. Amara sighed, defeated by the heart that always spoke louder. At night, the mansion felt different. There were no important guests, no crystal glasses lined up to impress. The table was simply set, white plates, cloth napkins folded awkwardly. A detail that revealed Adrian had tried to set it himself. The aroma of fresh pasta and soft wine filled the air. Amara walked in slowly, her mother's floral scarf tucked into her pocket, and felt strange in that setting. She was no longer the maid serving the table, but she wasn't sure if she could be just a guest either. Noah ran up and pulled out a chair. "Sit here, next to me." During dinner, the silence said more than any words. Adrian tried to hide the tension by pouring her some wine, and accidentally, their fingers touched. That brief contact was enough to make both their hearts race. Amara looked away, but her golden eyes betrayed her soul. There was pain, but also something still trying to shine. Adrian, in a low voice, said, "I never thanked you for what you did for my son. And for me. I don't even know where to begin." She took a deep breath and answered without looking directly at him. "You don't need to start with words, Adrian. I've already seen how you've changed, and that says more than any apology." The tension between them grew like a silent melody. Noah talked about school, about his drawings, but from time to time he glanced at the two of them, smiling as if he were the secret conductor of that night. When dessert was served, just some simply sliced fruit, Amara's and Adrian's hands met by accident on the table. For a moment, neither pulled away. Their eyes locked as if they couldn't look anywhere else. In that moment, there was no boss and no maid. There were only two broken hearts, dancing through the ruins of their own scars, trying to find a common rhythm. The night continued quietly in the mansion, but inside the dining room, the air felt heavy with something neither dared to name. Noah had already gone up to his room after kissing Amara on the forehead and saying she was the best part of home. Now only she and Adrian remained, face to face, with the weight of everything they had lived lingering between them. Adrian kept his eyes on her for a few seconds, as if searching for courage in his own shadows. Finally, he broke the silence. "Amara, I need to tell you something I've kept for too long." His voice wavered, so different from the firm tone he used in meetings. "Long before you got sick, I already felt something for you, but I didn't know how to handle it. The pressure of my world, the difference between us, made me hide what I really felt." Amara's eyes widened slightly, surprised. Her heart beat faster, but not from immediate joy. It was from disbelief. Tears rose, held back, as if trying to escape from a place she kept locked. "Adrian," she murmured, taking a deep breath to find strength. "You don't have to save me. Just don't pretend I don't exist. I've lived through that once, and I don't want to live it again." Her words hit like a mirror shattering in front of him. Adrian closed his eyes for a moment, absorbing the gentle but just blow. When he looked at her again, his expression was that of a man finally shedding his pride. "I don't want to pretend anymore. I've hidden behind work, behind the grief of losing my wife. But now I see. You were always here, right in front of me, and I didn't have the courage to admit it. Amara, I fell in love with you." A deep silence settled in. Amara's heart ached for all the times she had been invisible, for every cold word, for every lonely night inside a house that wasn't hers. She didn't respond. Instead, She slowly stood and walked over to him. Adrian got up too, hesitant, as if bracing for rejection. But Amara simply embraced him. It was a simple gesture, but so full of emotion that the world seemed to stop for a moment. He wrapped his arms around her, feeling her body tremble. She rested her face against his chest and finally let the tears fall. No words were spoken, but in that silence, they both knew something was beginning. Not a fairy tale, but the slow building of a bridge between two wounded hearts. Outside, the wind stirred the garden trees, as if nature itself was witnessing the fall of an old wall. Inside the house, for the first time in a long while, Adrian felt he was no longer alone. If you've made it this far, comment hug. That way I'll know you're living this emotion with me, and will confuse the ones who only read the comments. Months went by, and life seemed to find a new rhythm. The Houston sun reflected off the glass windows of Adrian's company headquarters, but this time, the shine that drew attention didn't just come from million-dollar deals. In the main auditorium, decorated with simple flowers and colorful banners, the launch of a social program was taking place, one that would change lives. The reintegration program for healthcare professionals who had been unjustly dismissed. On stage, Amara looked different. She no longer wore a cleaning uniform, nor hid her hair in a rushed bun. She wore a modest but elegant outfit, and her floral scarf, her mother's legacy, remained pinned to her pocket, a symbol of everything she had endured. Her golden eyes shone not only with emotion, but with pride. Adrian watched from the audience, beside Noah, who held his hand tightly. He no longer saw just the woman who had once collapsed in his mansion. He saw the leader, the survivor, the woman who had turned pain into purpose. Amara took a deep breath and began her speech. For a long time, I believed my voice had been silenced, that I was nothing more than a mark on a record. Today, I'm here to tell every professional who has ever been wronged, you are not alone. This project is here not just to restore jobs, but to restore dignity. The auditorium erupted in applause. Among those present, former hospital colleagues were visibly moved. Some wiped away tears discreetly. Noah suddenly stood up, unable to contain the overflowing emotion in his heart, and shouted loud enough for everyone to hear, "That's my mom!" A brief silence filled the room, followed by an emotional murmur. Amara stood frozen on stage, her eyes filled with tears, unable to hide them. Adrian squeezed his son's shoulder and smiled, as if in that moment the universe had stitched every wound together. She stepped down from the stage and was welcomed by Noah in a tight embrace. "You've always been my real mom. I just needed to say it." Adrian stepped closer, wrapping his arms around them both, and murmured, "Now we're a family. Not perfect, but real." Amara lifted her face, still crying, and replied, "It's not a fairy tale, but it's what I've always dreamed of. Respect, love, and truth." The imaginary camera of this scene would slowly pull back, showing the three of them united in the center of the auditorium, as the crowd stood applauding them. Amara's life had never been easy, but now it carried the weight of justice, as if fate had finally recognized the strength of someone who never stopped fighting in silence. And in that final moment, one phrase echoed to sum it all up. Not every hero wears a lab coat. Sometimes, they wear a cleaning uniform and save an entire family without anyone noticing, until it's too late. And so we reach the end of this story full of pain, resilience, and true love. I really want to know what you think. What did you feel throughout Amara, Adrian, and Noah's journey? Leave your rating from 0 to 10 in the comments so I can know how much this story touched your heart. If you liked it, Don't forget to like the video, share it with someone special, and subscribe to the channel to follow the next stories. And before you go, I've already picked another emotional narrative that's going to touch you even deeper.